Hey everyone, this is part 3 of What If Janemba Turned Good. In the previous episode, Janemba encountered the god of destruction, Beerus, proving to him that he was worthy of being trained at his planet, though the rest of battle gods went as normal. Psyche is now training under Whis in order to control Super Janemba, while also training on Earth alongside Piccolo. Let's try to get this video to 4,000 likes, so I know you guys want to see more. And let me know in the comments if you're enjoying Dragon Ball Psyche. Anyways, let's get back into the story. Whis has spent a lot of time trying to get Psyche to control his power, but it's been difficult, as he is basically trying to tame a legion of evil souls within him. Even so, great progress has been made. It's ironic, an angel helping a demon control his power. Beerus actually thinks that if he could control it, he would make a good god of destruction eventually, especially seeing as Oni don't really age. Psyche still wears Piccolo's colors, and he often returns to Earth, since his training with Piccolo is also not technically over, and he lives there still. Him and Gohan have been training together a lot more, and they've become good friends. This encourages Gohan to train a little more, but not a lot. He still has his focus set on academia, but he at least has fun with the Oni, and he's actually able to still go Super Saiyan at will. The kids often join as well, and Psyche gets music recommendations from them, although Trunks likes to listen to explicit music. And ever since Psyche became Janemba, hearing curse words just gives him a headache. He has to listen to the clean version now. Thanks to Bulma, he has upgraded from the Walkman to the brand new Capsule Phone 15. His training has started to make him a little cocky, as besides Goku and Vegeta, he is now the strongest warrior. Piccolo is worried that this may be a problem in the future, but since they're in a time of peace, maybe he should get to enjoy his power. But that peace would be threatened, as Frieza was revived. When Jakku arrives to warn Bulma about the impending arrival of the Emperor, the Z-Fighters gather together to protect the world, while Goku and Vegeta train at Beerus' planet. Psyche was training with Piccolo at the time, when he sensed a large amount of energy. Psyche asked what the hell was going on, and Piccolo explained just who Frieza was, and that somehow he had returned. Frieza? Those Abo and Kado guys were stronger than him, right? I took care of them easily. This is exactly what Piccolo was afraid of, but no better time than now to teach him a lesson. Let's hope you're right. With neither Goku nor Vegeta here, it's all up to you, Mr. Strongest in the world. Psyche was still cocky, but that did make him worry a little bit. Meanwhile, at Beerus' planet, Vegeta and Goku were getting taught that they need to work together. Each one of them had their own individual flaws, and though they had come together in the form of fusion before, they needed to come together as individuals. This would remain in their mind. Anyways, the Z-Fighters come together, watching as the massive Frieza Force spaceship floated over the forest, close to our recently destroyed city. The Z-Fighters assembled themselves as Frieza and the army emerged, although Frieza remained in his hovercar, as he commanded his men to begin his assault on Earth. Psyche knew everyone was counting on him, so wasting no time, he transformed into first form Janemba. Immediately, he began smacking and throwing tiny soldiers across the battlefield. Frieza had no idea what to make of this. He didn't even know what it was. Janemba began making smaller clones of himself, which also began to wreak havoc across the battlefield. Together with the Z-Fighters, Frieza's army didn't really stand much of a threat. Shizame and the few stronger warriors caused a little bit of trouble, but with the combined efforts of Psyche, Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, Chaozu, Master Roshi, and even Jakku, the Frieza force was taken care of. Frieza couldn't believe his eyes, as if 10 million fireflies lit up the world, but those fireflies were Janembas. Those crazy moves, that amazing power, he realized then that he must have been the one to create a mess in Otherworld all those years ago that allowed him to escape briefly. That escape gave him a taste of the living destruction he so sorely missed. Frieza's tail slammed against the ground as he took steps forward, with a sadistic grin bowing politely to the Z-Fighters. Gohan was going to speak up against Frieza when the Emperor asked for the monster's name. Janemba could only say his name over and over again, happily. Frieza scoffed. He didn't want to deal with such a child. Maybe it was time to destroy the world, but he couldn't leave without taking down Goku first. Frieza declared this planet as his own, and to tell Goku to come and face him. Piccolo told everyone to stand back and let Psyche handle this. Frieza wagged his finger for Janemba to come at him, to which the rotund monster obliged. However, to his surprise, Janemba first smirked. His body began to change shape, slimming down. Frieza wasn't sure what to think of this. Another form? So the Saiyans weren't the only ones to go super. This might be tougher than expected. Gohan and the others were in awe. Psyche really was changing into Super Janemba at will. After so many years of trial and error, the monster had finally been under control. Well, to a degree. It was more of a mutual understanding, where Psyche and Super Janemba could work together. He still couldn't communicate like normal. That would come later on. Frieza continued the assault, rushing forward towards the monster. The Emperor actually stood a chance as he flowed between punches. But they still struck somehow, as the portals opened around him and he was hit from multiple directions. Everyone cheered on Psyche, but Piccolo knew something was wrong. Psyche should be doing better than this, but he was allowing Frieza to strike him, like he was testing the Emperor. Psyche was getting cocky. It reminded of how Gohan acted against Cell, but Frieza began to understand his power, even using his own portals against Janemba. Frieza fought close to the monster, something he didn't like to do, as he liked to use blasts. But this was necessary, as every time Janemba opened a portal to punch Frieza, the Emperor would dodge out of the way, forcing Janemba to hit himself instead. This continued as Frieza began to see small flaws in the demon's power. Frieza then took the chance as Janemba hit himself one more time to push him down to the ground. The Emperor then laughed, but Janemba realized that maybe this had gone far enough. Within the demon, Psyche was a bit nervous. Maybe he should have finished things off rather quickly instead of playing around. Did he make a mistake? He didn't want Goku and the others to have to step in. He didn't want to feel as if he failed them. So he looked up above Frieza, seeing the giant mothership. This was going to be a desperation move. Before Frieza could show off his new form, Janemba flicked his hand downwards. Frieza was beginning to glow, but a sound caught his attention. He looked up to see the mothership coming crashing down over him. The ship exploded as it collided with Frieza. Janemba roared a cheerful laugh, but Gohan and the others were worried. That was a very dangerous move, and now that area was on fire. He needed to be more careful. Piccolo yelled at him to control himself and to be less cocky, but it was clear that Psyche was too full of himself at the moment. Why wasn't Piccolo proud of him? Why wasn't he congratulating him? Janemba began to take steps towards Piccolo, which the Namekian cocked an eyebrow at. Janemba was trying to communicate, roaring and pointing at the explosion. Piccolo had always been mean, harsh, but Psyche sought his approval. Gohan said that he cared on the inside. Why wasn't Piccolo congratulating him? Why wasn't he proud of him? From the hellfire caused by the explosion of the ship, a death beam rang out. It was fast, too fast. None of them could tell where exactly it was going until it struck someone. As Janemba continued to attempt to yell and be angry at Piccolo, the Namekian spun behind the demon, his cape soaring. As the blast pierced him, Piccolo fell on the ground, with Janemba being left speechless as he kneeled by his master. Piccolo's cape flapped in the wind, falling unconscious. Janemba's vision blurred, as did Gohan's. He couldn't believe what just happened. Slowly, Janemba cupped Piccolo's body, looking at it carefully. He wasn't moving. A soft Janemba left his lips, while Gohan's anger began to explode, electricity surrounding him. He threw his glasses aside, unleashing Super Saiyan 2. But the smoke cleared, revealing Golden Frieza from the smoke. Frieza was just clapping and laughing. A death beam had killed the Namekian, huh? Oh, that reminded him of the old days, back when he fired many death beams at him. But Gohan wasn't about to listen to this. Bursting forward with extreme speed and punching Frieza across the face. Frieza was hit, but he tanked the attack, simply smirking. Frieza kicked Gohan away and pointed his fingers outwards. A death beam was fired from every single one towards Gohan. What he didn't sense was that from behind Gohan, Janemba was changing. Seeing his master like this was something he'd never felt before. Something was surging within him, a true sadness. Inside of Janemba, we can see the cage shaped like the demon head, and behind it, a well of souls reaching out towards Psyche. The Oni looks down to the ground, completely silent, clearly sad. Up until now, he had only let a few of Janemba's souls seep into him, but the sadness and anger he felt within himself for doing this to Piccolo was becoming too much. The cage began to shake as Psyche reached out and slowly opened the door. Demons scurried into him. He screamed out in pain, while outside, Janemba's power skyrocketed. His horns grew, his eyes darkened, a malevolent ki was surging from within. Was this a new state? Dark Demon Janemba was born. As the Death Beams threatened to reach Gohan, a portal opened before him, leading directly back into Frieza. The Emperor was struck, reeling in pain as he looked up, just in time to see what looked like shards of glass rain down on him and Super Janemba flying overhead. Gohan took the chance to rush in after him, kicking off a rock and getting behind Frieza to ensure he had nowhere to run. Frieza was hit, and as the rain of glass stopped, Gohan spun to kick him the opposite way. He fired a Kamehameha, but Frieza recovered. He was caught in surprise, but that didn't mean they were stronger than him. Frieza fired a blast right back to struggle against Gohan's. But in the middle, Janemba appeared right before they clashed, pushing his sword upwards towards the sky, creating an explosion of energy that disintegrated both blasts and pushed Gohan backwards. Gohan wondered just whose side Janemba was on. Frieza wasn't as shooken up as Gohan, as he fired more shots, some of which actually struck Janemba. Golden Frieza was in a league of his own, but Janemba wasn't far behind, and this new power was still unknown. Janemba tanked the blast, creating ripples and portals even faster than before. Gohan and Janemba comboed Frieza up to the sky, where Gohan was going to slam him down to the ground, but Janemba instead created a portal. The falling Frieza disappeared through it. As the Janemba, Gohan tried to reach in before the portal closed, but it was too late. Frieza was taken somewhere else. The Emperor crashed down into the Arctic, the thick snow obstructing his view. Frieza's heart began beating fast. Where was he? Was he still on Earth? That monster's power was proving to be troublesome. From the snow flickered a light, a blast striking Frieza on the side. Frieza turned to see where it was coming from, but another blast came his way, then another and another. The lack of ki sensing was severely hindering Frieza, as he couldn't see anything behind the snow, and he needed to do something. The Emperor expanded his aura, the snow dispersing. He was panting, screaming out for the demon to show his face. To his surprise, Frieza heard a cackle from behind, and felt as Frieza slammed his fist against either side of his head. Frieza fell to the ground. But Goku and Vegeta finally arrived on Earth, having been contacted by Bulma through Whis. They locked onto Gohan's ki, but Frieza wasn't there. After getting told just exactly what was going on, Goku, Vegeta, and the others teleported to Janemba's ki, while Gohan carried Piccolo, knowing he'd have to be revived with the Namekian Dragon Balls. There, Gohan was flabbergasted by the terrifying sight, as Frieza fell to the ground before Janemba, and the demon screeched, raising his sword up to the sky in one fell swoop, a gust of ki rising, cutting the Emperor in half before it created a series of explosions. Just like that, Frieza was killed again. Defeated. Goku smiled and congratulated Janemba, about to go and pat his back when Vegeta called out for Goku to watch out. The demon slaps Goku away, his power continuing to surge. Goku and Vegeta looked at each other. Something was very wrong here. Gohan realized it now. Piccolo's death had triggered something in Janemba, an even greater form, something he could not control anymore. Perhaps they understood his power less than they originally thought. Goku and Vegeta were enveloped by a blue light, a fiery aura, not dissimilar to the purple one that surrounded Janemba. The demon looked at them calmly, as Gohan realized just how sad Janemba's face looked. Gohan and the rest couldn't believe how much all of them had grown. Perhaps they could help Psyche after all. The Super Saiyan duo was doing well. They were clearly pushing Janemba back further than Frieza did, but they weren't doing well enough. Their lack of synergy continued to be a hindrance, as Janemba dodged in a way to have Goku punch Vegeta and vice versa. He had learned from Frieza. As the battle continued, Whis and Beerus arrived at the battle site. Beerus gulped. The way Janemba continued to create portals and disperse energy, if unchecked, he could be a true problem. Had he made a mistake by asking Whis to train him? But the angel told him not to fret. This could be seen as a test for the trio. Earlier, Whis had told Vegeta and Goku about their individual weaknesses. They just needed to remember that. It was clear what the problem was each time Janemba got the upper hand, and Vegeta was the first one to comment on it. He remembered the lesson Whis tried to instill. They took a second to recompose, finally watching each other's moves and responding accordingly. Vegeta and Goku working together yielded great results, and Janemba was finally at the edge of the rope. Even when they missed the shot and Janemba got a clear strike at Goku, Vegeta protected his ally by shouting out profanity that stopped the demon for a split second. This culminated in the Z Fighters below damning Janemba's name, holding him down as Goku and Vegeta spun around each other and fired a charged shot Kamehameha and Gallic Gun. The blast seemed to have worked, as Whis smiled and nodded at his pupils. Even Janemba did very well, but he wondered, what was it that made him lose control? What was this new form? Goku and Vegeta descended, proud at their progress. It was clear that having to fuse twice already, in addition to their training together, had progressed them a bit faster than in the original story. Even so, from the snow below, Janemba rose, surrounded by lightning and shrieking out. If they continued to fight, surely Psyche would die. What other option did they have? That's when Gohan thought of something. His friend needed him. He flew up to his father, carrying Piccolo, and asked him to take him to planet Namek. Goku was confused, but realized his son's plan. Beerus wanted to stop him right then and there, end things. But Gohan promised that he could take care of it if he was given a bit more time. Goku and Gohan teleported to Namek, while Vegeta and the rest distracted Janemba. When they returned, Vegeta was in trouble, but Janemba wasn't faring much better. He was clearly tired and losing energy. As Janemba was about to throw one more punch, Goku stopped it by teleporting right before him and opening a keyring right in front of the demon. It stopped him. The Godbind trapped Janemba as he focused his eyes on Piccolo. Janemba was taken aback. He growled, looking at the Namekian. His two masters were now there, and they had a serious look. Piccolo took a step closer to Janemba. "I'm fine, kid. You can stop this. Gohan helped me come back." Janemba gave a glance to Gohan and growled again. "You defeated Frieza. You've gotten so strong, Psyche, but there's no more need to fight. You can calm down." Janemba's breaths began to slow down as his growls lessened. Seeing Piccolo alive and well was clearly having an impact. He exploded in sadness and rage. He couldn't control himself, but it seemed he needed just a little bit more push until he could finally be himself again. That's when Piccolo said, "You did great, Psyche. Earth is safe thanks to you. We just have some more work to do. It's a progress." That's when the armor around Janemba cracked, finally freeing the young boy. As all those souls seemed to dissipate, he could finally breathe again. But he was scared and sad. Was that what triggered it? His sadness? The Z fighters approached him and helped him up. "I'm sorry, everyone. I don't know what happened. I couldn't do anything. I thought I could finally control it, but..." Goku and Piccolo both placed hands on his shoulders, smiling at him. They understood. They were just happy to have stopped it. Psyche's eyes widened upon hearing Piccolo say this. His master actually smiled at him. Piccolo was really proud of him? Gohan gave him a thumbs up, reaffirming this. He really was a hero. Psyche smiled back, before tumbling and blacking out. That had taken so much out of him. The Oni ended up asleep for 2 days at Gohan's house before he woke up. And when he did, Videl and Gohan sat with him and a warm cup of tea. He was pale and clearly still weaker than he should be. "It was different, Gohan. Every other time I could at least control some of my actions to some degree, enjoy the fight, the anger, but this time, seeing Piccolo like that, his death, I was so scared, it overtook me. I was afraid of that feeling, of the hatred I was starting to feel against Frieza. I couldn't stop it." Gohan sighed and nodded at Psyche. The Saiyan explained that he'd been through similar situations. When he first went Super Saiyan 2 against Cell, his hatred for Cell, his desire to watch him suffer, it took the better of him, and his father died because of it. He hadn't told many people this, but he blamed himself for that day. He didn't want Psyche to make those same mistakes. The hatred he had against Cell, it was a mistake. He was allowed to feel sad. He was allowed to feel anger, but he couldn't allow hatred to overcome him. Then, what did you do? How did you control it? I leaned on those around me. Krillin, my mother, Mr. Piccolo. They were there for me. Psyche looked down. Perhaps he really did just need some more time to train with his friends. More time to just spend with them. But Janemba was slowly starting to scare him again. Because it wasn't like these souls seeped into him like when he transformed into Super Janemba. No, this time he allowed it to happen. He unlocked the door himself. That's when the door burst open, and Erasa came running in. She was extremely worried about Psyche, and she came just as soon as Videl told her that he was awake. Psyche was still a little uncomfortable about this, but getting attention when he was still hurt was kind of nice. And she finally realized that he wasn't in cosplay. After the battles against Beerus, it was kinda hard to hide from her everything that was going on. Days continued to pass, and Psyche finally recovered, being brought back to his spirits in full force, like nothing had ever gone wrong. But deep down, he knew there was so much to work on. But the situation had really shown his growth. Before, when this kind of stuff happened, he would just be afraid to transform into a Janemba again, which just meant taking steps back away from being able to control him. He was finally at a point where he could control Super Janemba. It was clear that it was deep emotions that made him transform into whatever form that was. So instead of taking it as a failure, he took it as a chance to work on himself, to get stronger, to get better, to train harder. He needed to be careful, he knew that, and he was a lot more cautious about Super Janemba. But like Gohan said, he couldn't allow that hatred to overcome him. He couldn't allow himself to be overtaken by fear. He just had to work on it. Whis and Piccolo realized this too, and they trained him harder than ever. Beerus continued to keep an eye on him. He trusted Whis to set him straight, but if that didn't work, he would have no option but to destroy him. Before leaving back to Beerus' planet, Videl and Gohan stopped him at the door, asking him if he's really ready, if he's recovered fully, and if he's not afraid to use Janemba again. But Psyche looked at Videl in the eyes, telling her that he's come this far. This is just a new challenge for him. Videl is a little afraid for him, but when she's gonna argue back, Gohan puts a hand on her shoulder, realizing just how much he has grown. Gohan can see it in his eyes. It was the same outlook Gohan had as a kid. He knew what Psyche was thinking. He couldn't disappoint Piccolo. Psyche burst out from the house, embarking on a new set of challenges, the next one of which would take him to Universe 6. But that's for next time on Dragon Ball Psyche. So, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments below. Again, let's try to get this video to 4,000 likes. And share with your friends who like Dragon Ball. A huge thank you to the patrons of the channel. It's always thanks to you guys that I can get these videos out. Patrons can watch videos like this early, and even a patron exclusive series, What If Bulma Married Goku? Part 2 is coming soon. Thank you to the patrons of the channel. Daruv, Awasti, The Shadows, Anders Wallen, NSman1, Chandler Draws Things, Tusky59, Indigo Saturn 64, Earth Dragon, Gerald Smith, Jake King, Softer Cat, Arvin Selman, Faffing About, Kitsune Jester, Kaiju Monarch, Shadow Paradox, Eric Jenkins, Evan Webb Stewart, Lost Saiyan 997, Orange Crimsicle, Chris Macareno, Mao Lick, Daddy, Super Samurai, Ryan Wilpula, Beastieman 420, Akko, D-Man for Life, Blaze 9526, Chris PlayStation CK, Free Flow Highway, Jamie Pollard, Mystic Angel, Shane K, True Lightning Striker, Ghost 1571, Trent Rules, D-Man Plays 22, Jim G, Jerome Foster, Salil Paranjape, Keith Grimes, Dreadpool, and Samuel Randall. Thank you guys for your support as always. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check out my other videos, subscribe, all that good stuff, and until we meet again. See ya!